Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is still, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Saturday, January 22nd. If you're listening to the podcast in audio form, like many people do, it is probably Sunday, January 23rd. If you happen to be listening to the podcast on Spotify, they have introduced a rating system. If you could be so kind as to give us a rating, preferably 5 stars, that would be fantastic. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Debo's feeling frisky. The Bengals won. My Niners won. Ryan Wilson's the only loser in town. We're going to give stuff away, baby. Smash that like button. Let's dive right in there. We're not even going to introduce Ryan Wilson.
Lean and angry. Mean and hungry. Run passer boot. He's rough, tough. Get some points up on that board and win a game for Cincinnati.
Breech, as I told you before the show, you sound and look like me on a Sunday morning after NC State won a huge football game. I'm really happy for you.
How dare you equate a regular season NC State playoff win against a playoff win on the road by the Bengals, a team that was 0-7 previously.
Hey,
please stop
it. Breech, give us your monologue, your filibuster, your intro.
Well, you know, I'm just gonna game. I'm gonna give the whole day. I was sitting in the stands. I went to the game with my family, my good buddy Nate Harrell. I sat with him, but my sister was there, my brother-in-law, my brother's fiance, my older brother flew in from Oregon. This was a whole family affair. And you know, the crazy thing was there weren't as many Bengals fans there as I thought there was going to be. You get to the stadium, I honestly thought it was gonna be about 70-30, maybe even 60-40, but it felt about 85-15. And you know what? The one thing I am going to say right off the bat, and I don't know how much this translated to television, and I cannot talk because this is the first time in my adult life the Bengals have ever done anything this crazy. I was 8 years old. I've lost my voice. I took celebratory shots. I am literally about 5 minutes away from falling asleep. I barely functional. But so I don't know if this translated to television, but it was the craziest, most eerie atmosphere I've ever been to. You know, like we've been to Super Bowls. I was at the Rams-Saints NFC Championship game. Like usually the home crowd is crazy, but when Ryan Tannehill threw the interception on the first play of the game, the crowd went dead. It was like it was like at a funeral. I mean, there was no home field advantage. That, you know, they got loud in a couple when, you know, there was 27 sacks in the game. And so anytime there was a 3rd and 10 or longer, which probably happened 3 or 4 times, the crowd got nuts. But besides that, they were just deflated. It was like they're like, please don't let Ryan Tannehill throw the football. And so being as the road fan in the visiting, you know, being the visiting team fan, you just expect it to be kind of nuts. And it's just crazy to see how fast one play could kind of deflate every single person in that stadium.
Let me ask a few questions, Breech. So how many Breech and Breech adjacents were at the game?
I would say
about the game.
Well, if we're talking about people I know, it was probably about 50. If we're talking about directly with me, I think it was like 9.
9, okay.
Yeah, 9 people you sat with. So that's a big crowd.
And when you woke up this morning, did you have butterflies like first thing?
When I woke up this morning, it was after I had a dream that the Bengals beat the #1 seeded Titans on a game-winning field goal by the rookie kicker, and then that exact thing happened.
Is that true?
Literally could not have written it. It was a game-winning field goal in my dream.
All right, before we get too far, can we just show the moment that they won?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Uh-oh.
It's good! It's good! It's good!
So that was, is that you yelling, Breech?
If you're wondering why Breech's voice is gone, that's because he was screaming, it's good, it's good, it's good.
So,
Breech, I assume you've seen the Joe Burrow quote about McPherson, right?
I have, yes.
Wow.
Money McPherson calling his shot. Kickers don't do that because if you miss, you look silly, and you don't, especially in a pressure situation. And let me throw
just so people who are listening to the podcast and may not have seen it know. Evan McPherson took 2 warm-up swings before walking out to try this game-winning field goal to win the Bengals' first ever road playoff game, and looks at Brandon Allen, the Bengals backup. He goes, I guess we're going to the AFC Championship game, and walks out on the field and bangs down this long field goal.
Smoked it.
Again, and before we continue, someone tweeted us and said that Breech said he would take a bath with Skyline Chili if the Bengals won on a last-second 50-yard plus field goal from Evan McPherson. I do remember that happening.
So here's what I think I said. And again, I have had celebratory shots and my memory's a little shot. But I think I said if Randy Bullock beat the Bengals on a 50-plus yard field goal.
Well, that's never ever going to happen.
Because we had brought – but I might have said Evan McPherson. I don't remember.
I guess what I'm asking for is if you're anybody who's, like listening to the pod or watching on YouTube, probably a loyal podcast listener. You probably remember this moment. I went back and listened to the whole bold predictions pod and couldn't find it. Maybe I missed it during the game. If you know, okay, Clarence G points out, I thought Breech said he'd drink a glass of foot sweat.
Oh,
if you remember Breech saying that, and you can tweet us audio, because all of a sudden we have a sticky wicket situation with Wilson's tattoo and Breech's.
You know what though? I will literally, I'll set up a baby bathtub behind me and bathe in the chili.
And by the way, Breech,
I won't pass up that one. I'm a man of my word. If I did say it,
I said this while you were at the game or making your way home. I'm going to get the tattoo, and it's going to be Evan McPherson, and you guys just call it Ryan Finley. I don't care. Also worth noting, talking about calling your shot. If you the clip to Devo play that Breech tweeted out from the stands as the game ended, Breech called it when the ball was literally at the 20-yard line.
So did McPherson, though. McPherson was like celebrating.
So I told my buddy Nate. Nate's sitting next to me after the first field goal. He's like, how'd you know it was going in so fast? I'm like, you watch kickers your whole life, and you can see their reaction. If McPherson does kind of a head nod, like he knows it's going in when he knows it's going in. And they know probably 90% of the time right away. And he knew as soon as that ball hit his foot. And you still, if you're watching on TV, because the camera angle, it's usually pretty easy to tell because it's kind of straight on. But, when you're sitting on the side, it's a little more difficult to tell. But he hit that straight down the middle. And real quick on Evan McPherson, Debo just put up some stats up there. The first kicker in NFL history to hit 4 or more field goals in 2 postseason games in the same postseason. And number 2, he hit 2 field goals of 50 yards or more against the Titans from the last 3 playoffs, 2018, 2019, 2020. There was only 1 50-yard field goal in the divisional round by every team combined. So he beat that entire total.
All
Love
right,
kicker stats, guys. Okay.
Last week, Wilson asked you, does the Bengals' first playoff game since what was the year?
91, but they haven't.
91.
They've never won a playoff game on the road.
No, I know. You said, Breech, where does this rank in your all-time life moment? Now, you have since then been in the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
For a walk-off kicker win to send the Bengals to the AFC title game. It's too late at night for your wife and your daughter, who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, to be listening. Where does this rank in your all-time life moments?
You know what? My 21-month-old actually came down to the hotel we were staying, hung out with the family, and was wearing Bengals stuff, had a little Bengals tutu on, and just people were high-fiving her and just thought she was the most adorable thing. Anyway, I'm going to say tied for number 2 with getting married. Number 1's the baby, though. The baby being born is number 1.
Okay, good. I thought you were going to go tied for number 2.
But you know what? It will fall down the list if they win next week. So you're going to have getting married. Getting married is not a
situation on your hands if the Bengals win the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But getting married can't fall down the list. The baby being born can't fall down the list. But this win could if they win the AFC title game or the Super Bowl.
All right. So like on the game itself, and I'm curious because you were in the stadium, you were watching the game. The yardage stuff is pretty close, 353 for the Titans to 345 for the Bengals. But the Titans had a full 1.4 yards per play above the Bengals. Like that normally in a playoff game says that the Titans are going to blow somebody out. The Bengals went 7 of 15 on third downs. The Titans went 1 of 8 Ryan Tannehill had, and by the way, the Titans set the single game playoff sack record with 9 sacks of Joe Burrow. He was under siege. Jeffrey Simmons was an animal in there. It would have been hard for me as a Bengals fan to be, and I am a Bengals fan now, but like I'm rooting for the Bengals. It would be hard to watch. It was hard to watch that game and be like, oh my God, like Jeffrey Simmons is going to make this guy fumble at some point, but Joe Burrow just doesn't care. And the Bengals made a couple plays that flipped it. And just when Joe Burrow had the ball with 2 timeouts and 20 seconds and a kicker who apparently is just
doesn't miss.
Doesn't like, is Joe Burrow for kickers? It's like Joe Burrow's just walking down the street with a knife. Like, who wants to fight? Like, let's go. And he was going to win that game. I'm sort of curious how, did you feel optimistic? How optimistic did you feel throughout that game? Because when you were watching it, it was very clear the Titans were the better team.
That wasn't clear to me.
I think the score was indicative of how it played out. I feel like it was 2 even teams, except one team was good at, destroying the other team's quarterback. The Bengals defense played out of their mind. I mean, we're talking about 3 interceptions of Tannehill. The 4th and 1 play at the end of the game in the 4th quarter was the biggest defensive play the Bengals have had in years. I mean, the Titans had a 3rd and 1, then a 4th and 1. You have Derrick Henry, and you can't get 1
but
yard.
Breech, to be clear, on 3rd and 1, you run an RPO with Ryan Tannehill for some insane reason, and then you come back to Derrick Henry. I don't know why you don't run Derrick Henry twice. Vrabel talked about it after the game, but either way, to stop Derrick Henry once when he needs 1 yard is absolutely bonkers. And as you point out, something that in recent history anyway hasn't gone the Bengals' way. So I mean, I think they made their own luck. I think both defenses played amazing, and I think the difference is, and this is something we'll be talking about forever. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, you need a lot of things to go right. See the 49ers.
Right. Yep.
Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, one of the things we talked about in the Bold Predictions podcast was that we don't know how healthy Derrick Henry is going to be. I can barely talk. So
it's fine, Breech.
So in that sense, if Ryan Tannehill has to carry this team, they're now 0-3 when he has to throw more than 15 passes in a playoff game. Just 15. So he can't carry that offense. And it was pretty clear. Me and my buddy Nate were just saying that Derrick Henry didn't look like Derrick Henry. He had a couple runs in the second half where he broke off a few 8-yarders, but for the most part, he didn't have that kind of spurt that he has, that first step.
Yeah, but you know what? Dante Foreman looked like Derrick Henry.
No, exactly. And I was thinking if they had played Foreman the entire game, this probably goes differently because Derrick Henry is a much better running back than Dante Foreman, but Derrick Henry off 2 months being injured, I don't know, is a better running back than Dante Foreman.
I would push back a little bit in the sense that I felt the two issues for the Bengals coming into this game were on the offensive defensive line matchups on both sides of the ball, right? Like Cincy's offensive line, I mean, I think we can safely say that Cincy's offensive line was not up to the task.
I mean, Burrow was the only quarterback in the NFL that got sacked more than 50 times this year, so he's used to just getting
9
destroyed.
times and won a playoff game.
He gets hit 9 times every game. Doesn't get sacked every game that many times, but he's used to it.
Yeah, and look, Jeffrey Simmons is a monster. This is not a Bengals just suck and Titans got free run. It was a good game call. The
Bengals offensive line sucks. Like Isaiah Prince shouldn't be out. I mean, he's out there because Riley Reif got hurt. He got exposed frequently. Adonijay struggled.
Here's my point about it is that
real quick, the Chiefs and Bills don't have a defensive line as good as the Titans.
Okay, my point about this is that coming out of the wild card weekend, we talked about this on the Bold Predictions pod and on the Picks pod. Larry Ogunjobi was on IR, and we knew there were a bunch of Cincy defensive linemen who were hurt. That unit played their ass off. Like they beat the Titans offensive line for, I would say, 60 to 75% of the game. And they started to wear down a little bit, but then popped back up in the late 3rd quarter when they needed to make stops. And that was the difference. Because if they get worn down, eventually Derrick Henry breaks up.
You're right. That office, the defensive line played great.
DJ Reader was a monster.
Yes,
Tennessee's offensive line might be worse than the Bengals offensive line. The difference for me, they're not great. I don't know what the DVOA says on it, but they're straight up dog doo-doo. The difference for me was the quarterbacks, and that's it. Like I think you could argue that both defenses played as well as they could have played and gave their teams the best chance to win. One quarterback threw 3 interceptions, each one worse than the previous one that came before it. And obviously the one and we talked about this in HQ, the final interception, you can say it was a tip pass. Why are you throwing to Westbrook Akina when you have Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, who was demoralizing that secondary? And here's the other thing. On the very next play, who did Joe Burrow throw to? Did he throw to Joe Rando? No, he threw a corner out to to Jamar Chase, who was double covered.
Right.
It's not brain
and
science.
Back to the Tannehill spot real quick, because again, we've noted he threw 3 interceptions. And the second one I thought was the backbreaker, where when it happened, I was like, there's no way the Bengals are losing. Obviously, my mindset changed when the Titans tied it at 16. But that was a drive. So the Bengals just scored the touchdown. Their opening possession, the second half to go up 16-6. So you feel pretty comfortable because the Titans aren't a great team playing from behind. So Tennessee gets the ball. What do? They drive 66 yards down the field on 4 runs. 4 runs. They're like, let's not involve Tannehill. Then for some reason, after getting 66 yards on 4 runs, they say, you know what? Let's let Ryan throw the ball. And what happens? His first pass of the second half, after running down Cincinnati's throat, gets intercepted. Mike Hilton picks that off. And, Tannehill probably saved a touchdown, but you shouldn't throw an interception anyway. And that was when it felt like, my God, it's 16-6. And you're not winning a comeback game with Tannehill as your quarterback unless something crazy happens like Burrow's interception, where the running back dropped it. But yeah, I mean, that was the backbreaker. That 3 interceptions, like you said, Ryan, all uglier with the next time. And it was just, it was Tannehill. Tannehill cost them the game. And that, walking out of the stadium, all I heard was Titans fans saying, we got to get rid of Tannehill. Like, it was, I had never heard so much scorn for a guy who's led his team to the playoffs 3 straight years and an AFC title game 2 years ago. But Titans fans were irate with Ryan Tannehill.
But here's the thing. If he played like that for any team in the playoffs, their fan base would be saying exactly the same thing. And you understand why.
Yeah. I mean, look, you crap your pants in the playoffs and people get mad. It happens with like Kyler Murray played like crap in the playoffs, and people are like, "Oh, we sure Kyler Murray's a guy." Lamar Jackson.
No one's saying that.
Dude,
no one's saying that.
This happened with Aaron Rodgers when the Packers lost. Was it the Cardinals they lost to in that crazy game against Kurt Warner? And people were like, "Are we sure Aaron Rodgers is the guy?"
Well, the difference is Ryan Tannehill has done it in back-to-back years, and as Breech noted, the only times they win in the playoffs is when they lean on the running game. So this
0-3 when he throws more than 15 passes. Just think it's such a small number that you can't put the responsibility of the game on his shoulders, and that's a problem because your quarterback touches the ball on every play.
I want to ask you all about. I think Mike Vrabel is a really good head coach, so I'm not criticizing him here. I think he is. He raises Tennessee's floor in terms of their wins during the regular season. He punted. And I don't think the analytics question them so much, but he punted. And Breech is a Bengals fan, and this is the ultimate test: is if Breech is in the stands and Vrabel has 4th and 3. He had a 4th and 3 for sure, and a 4th and 7, I believe.
Are you
Breech
sure?
is in the stands. Do you want him to punt? Or
I think one of the big, and again, like I was on Twitter the whole game. He followed my feed. I'm not on because like horrible cell phone reception. And
it's at John Breech in case you don't follow.
Right, I did not tweet.
Aaron Rodgers in all black in his post game.
That's not a good sign for the Packers. So I didn't tweet the entire game, but I thought the first weird decision was they're at the Bengals 39-yard line. I think in the first quarter.
It was 4th and 7.
4th and 11.
Was it 4th and 11?
4th and 11. So that's long where you don't feel comfortable going for that, but you're on your opponent's 39-yard line. And, Vrabel's thinking is, God, our defensive line is mauling them. Let's pin them back, and we'll play the field position game because this is going to be a defensive game, which clearly it was because the final score is 19-16. But Ryan Tannehill is your quarterback. You don't know how many times you're going to get a chance to get down and get to the 39-yard line. So, 56-yard field goal.
Breech, let me ask you this. When it was 4th and 11 on the Bengals 39-yard line, and what did you want to have happen?
I wanted them to go for it, like as a Bengals fan, because I didn't think they were going to convert. And so, and I was,
and that was their second drive of the game.
Yeah, it's second or third. It was in the first quarter. I do remember that.
Yeah, in the third quarter.
And so, yeah, as a Bengals fan, I would rank it as I wanted to go for it, number one, field goal number two, because there's no way Randy Bullock was hitting 56 out there in 29 degrees. And punt was number three, just because, if you put him at the two, Brett Kern's one of the best punters. Joe Burrow gets safetied. So I actually understood Vrabel's thinking there, but it's still, you're just not down there often. You got to take chances.
It's the 39, and as you point out, Ryan Tannehill's your quarterback. It's early in the game. You're down 3-0. Who cares? Like, why would you go for it on 4th and 11 with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter, down 3-0 at home?
I think the argument would be, I didn't mind the punt there. It's also like a crappy situation for Vrabel because you're on your opponent's 40-yard line and you're punting, which means, and we live in this little Twitter bubble or whatever when we're watching games, and people are like, I can't believe Vrabel punted. What's he doing? I mean,
worth noting, by the way, he tried to get the Bengals to jump, in which case it's 4th and 6, and he was going to go for it. I mean, you're not going to get.
Sure.
I think that was
11 is asking a lot, and you were setting the Bengals up to potentially go to like 10-0, and you did have a sense in this game pretty early that it was not going to be some kind of wild shootout. It felt
right. And I thought it was going to be a shootout going in. And I could, at the end of the first quarter, I was banging the under, like, no, there's no shootout here. This is Joe Burrow's going to get sacked 27 times, and the shootout's not happening. So definitely.
Well, and that's the argument, though, for going for it there is if you miss it, you're probably sacking Joe Burrow on one of the next 3 plays. You know what I'm saying? Like, your defensive line is so dominant against this offensive line. Should you go for it and like risk the upside of getting the conversion versus the downside of, giving the ball to Joe Burrow at midfield? And the Bengals, like, this is my concern with the Bengals against the Bills or Chiefs, is that
there's no concerns, Brinson. There's no concerns.
I'm not betting against Joe Burrow, to be clear. But my concern is that they felt very like Joe Burrow is fine at these moments. I'm not sure Zach Taylor is fine in these moments. Like, they didn't feel like they were aggressively calling plays, like they were trying to go and just like.
The dude got sacked 9 times, so they threw at least 9 passes or attempted to. I will say this, and I had questions about it last spring just because of the 9 sacks we saw today. If there's no Jamar Chase on this team, Breech, I don't even know if they make the playoffs. Like, clearly Joe Burrow is the most important player, but I'm not even joking. Like, wins over Wilson, it might be 2 wins during the regular season that Jamar Chase gave that team, and that might be underselling it. And
yeah, just real quick, Wilson, to that point, because you could tell how seriously Vrabel took him as a threat, because they had a safety over there almost the entire game. And then what happened, like the one time, he's like, you know what, I'm going to go man-to-man coverage. Burrow throws just a quick, Chase just turns around. He doesn't even run a route, just turns around, catches it, and goes off for
57 yards.
Yeah, 57 yards.
You know when that happened?
First
after
quarter.
Vrabel punted on 4th and 11 in the very next series.
That is true.
And then you know what Vrabel didn't do? Didn't cover Chase man-to-man the rest of the game.
Yep. That Chase play was identical to like an Odell Beckham like slant where he looks like he's 5'4", and he's got the ball in his hands, and all of a sudden he just expands as he's running and starts getting just stretchy and athletic. It was weird seeing both AJ Brown and Jamar Chase get caught in the open field and tackled, because you never see that. Like, one dude is so fast and so elusive, and the other guy's just so physical. It doesn't happen. I did think there were a couple moments. So there's a Jackrabbit Jenkins missed interception.
Yeah.
Was that the pick six, the drop pick six?
It's probably housed. It's like almost definitely housed.
It was
housed.
It was housed. It was a really bad drop. And then Tannehill missed AJ Brown twice in the first half on deep passes where like the Titans could have blown this game out and just didn't come out sharp, made some mistakes. Their defensive line was playing awesome.
When you say Titans, I think you mean Ryan Tannehill. Like, who else played poorly?
Jackrabbit Jenkins.
Okay, he's number 2, and that's on a defense that had 9 sacks and gave up only one offensive touchdown.
This is you just pinning on Tannehill. That's
Todd Downing. I mean, the play calling is not as good as it was like under Arthur Smith.
Again, your quarterback threw an interception on the very first pass of the first quarter and the third quarter. After, as Breech noted, on that third quarter drive, they just ran the ball down the Bengals' throats. And the one time, the man can't even throw a screen pass to 4-foot tall Mike Hilton. He got his hands on it and intercepted it. Now, the best play, and we talked about this a little bit, Brinson, the best play Tannehill made, do you know what it was, Breech, the whole game, his best play? It wasn't the touchdown pass to A.J. Brown.
It was pretty good.
That's a pretty good throw.
It was him running down Mike
Great
Hilton.
catch.
And that saved the touchdown. So
How, like, if you're Mike Hilton, you got to be walking to the sideline thinking, how did I not score there? Like, the ball is popped up in the air. It's falling in your hands. You're a DB.
But also, Ryan Tannehill
walks you down.
like to not rip Mike Hilton. Ryan Tannehill's one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL. Wide receiver at Texas A&M. You know, like
He should
he's.
throw the ball with his feet then.
I mean, probably, but you know, he'd crush Tom Brady in a 40.
Ruben Garg in the chat points out Foreman, 4 carries, 66 yards, travesty. I mean, that's a good point. Like,
That's what Breech was saying.
That's
No,
what I
no, I
said.
mean-
So they just shooed Deontay Foreman to the side and said, we're going to go with Derrick Henry. We don't even know if Derrick's going to look good, but we're going with him because he's our guy. He's been out for 2.5 months. He's a running back. You can't just get back to the football shape.
plate in his little foot.
Right. Like you give him 10 or 15 carries. And if he looks good, it just blew my mind that they just got rid of Foreman. It was like he wasn't even on the roster.
Well, I didn't think that Henry looked bad.
Yeah,
But
he looked like
he looked-
preseason Henry.
He looked
I
like a
thought
running back.
Foreman looked better. And then that again,
Foreman was ripping that long run off, and you're like, oh my God, why is Derrick Henry so skinny? You're like, oh shoot. I must cuss on this. And you're like, oh my God, like that's Foreman, not Henry.
Yeah.
Julio Jones looked better in this game than he had all year. I mean, look, Tannehill wasn't good. By the way, Wilson, you almost got your
Yeah, what was it? I don't even remember what it was.
Mixon over Henry rushing yards. You missed by 8 yards.
oh,
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, they actually, again, to the credit of the Tennessee. I mean, the Tennessee defense was so bad in 2020, and credit to them for turning it around. And they weren't dominant, but they played as well as the Bengals defense, and both units played really well. But I think that Jackrabbit drop pick 6, and I was watching it thinking, look, man, I know why you play defensive back because you can't catch. I get it. But you're a professional athlete. You're one of the best athletes on planet Earth. You should be able to catch a ball thrown to you from 15 yards away. And those are the type of plays that come back to bite you. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't why they lost, but those plays happen once a game, once every 2 games, and you go, oh my God, just simple things. You drop a stupid interception. I mean, I don't know how you fix it, but it has to be extremely frustrating for Jackrabbit. And could have saved Ryan Tannehill's butt, but it wasn't meant to be.
So I mean, and this we'll talk about this a little bit more after the break when we go into Green Bay, San Francisco. But 2 number 1 seeds lost today,
That hurts.
and the Titans had won 3 straight going into the playoffs, and 4 of 5 coming out of their Week 13 bye. And I know, it's hard to sort of be like, oh, the Titans needed to be a wild card weekend team because especially them, it was like, all right, if you get the bye, you get Derrick Henry back, and then all of a sudden you can get downhill. Everybody's a little healthier. But I mean, I think there is it's wild that both number 1 seeds are out going to the championship.
and the graphic right there, if you're listening to audio,
Yeah.
it has only happened 4 times over the past 50 years, 2010, 2008, 1979, and this year.
And
43 years, but okay.
I can't do math.
Also,
Ryan,
hey,
there's no math.
Debo, did you build that graphic with the Jaints? Or is that somebody else who built that?
We're always taking shots.
Take credit for that one, not me.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
That's not your fault. The Titans and the Jaints.
Before we move
Wait,
on,
is it
After the
supposed
game.
to say Giants or Saints? That's the question.
Oh shoot, that's a good question.
it's the Giants. 2008 NFC.
That'd be 2000. No, because is that the 2008 season or 2008 playoffs? I hate this. I hate
It's
this.
2008 season because this is 2021 season. Titans Packers. That might be the Saints. I'm not sure. But I want to say one thing before we moved on.
Yeah.
It's the Giants,
You know who this team reminds me of, Breech?
the Titans, and the Bengals.
Your Bengals.
Who?
2005 Steelers.
What? No,
Number
that's
6.
giving way too much credit to Big Ben.
Number 6 seed. Second year quarterback.
Okay, I'll take
Go on
that.
the road.
All right.
Go on the road twice. Beat the Bengals in the first round. You know about that game? Then they went to that was the Indy game, was the second game, which was obviously a little more offense in this game, but equally as exciting. And then they had to face the number 1 seed Denver in the championship game, and they beat the crap out of them. So listen, I mean, whether you go to Buffalo or whether you go to Kansas City, there's a path. I mean, legitimately. I mean, this defense is playing well, and most importantly,
Joe Burrow.
You have a quarterback, and then
that
one beat
2005
Jamar
Steelers
Chase.
team, I feel like they had that. The Peyton Manning Colts game was the one where nobody thought the Steelers were going to win.
Nobody, because earlier in the year they played them on Monday night and got their doors blown off. And
just crazy things happened. The tackle, Ben's tackle on that linebacker to keep the pick six from happening. Bettis' fumble at the goal line. I mean, that's just.
I was like in a discussion Tuesday or Wednesday this week about this game, and I mean we talked about the podcast with the Picks podcast. I agreed completely. The Titans were like, the matchup was just bad for the Bengals in the sense that Henry's back. The Bengals D line is completely destroyed. The Bengals
line with 9 days rest or whatever.
Rest. And like I was going back and forth with a couple of people on this talking about the game, and I was like, now counterpoint, and we just do colon and then would put a picture of Joe Burrow in there. And like that's like Breech, they're in our boys Colin Bear and Logan Bear, these rabid Bengals fans. Like, have you ever felt this optimistic about the Bengals in your life? I mean, Joe Burrow is a stone cold killer.
Carson Palmer and Chad Ochocinco, they used to win the division.
No, but never. But here's the difference, Wilson, is that Ben Roethlisberger, there was always like someone to knock off, and like the AFC North feels like it's going into a law where, the Ravens have so many. The Steelers don't have a quarterback. The Browns don't know what they're going to do with Baker Mayfield.
Their DC just resigned. Don Martindale got fired from the Ravens.
Those aren't. I mean, that's not going to stop the Bengals from being the Bengals, whether Keith Butler stayed around for another year or not.
I mean, your two powerhouse opponents.
Defensive coordinator, Ravens fired. Steelers don't have a quarterback, and the Browns might not have a quarterback. And those are huge things they have to get. The Bengals are the team that's been total chaos and always finds a way to lose is the poster child for continuity and sanity. And they look like, Joe Burrow still on his rookie contract. This literally looks like a team that should compete for the division title for the next.
They're the AFC Championship game.
5 to 10 years.
They might win the effing Super Bowl this year.
Super Bowl. I don't want to think about it. Let's not jinx it.
I know the worst part is like if the Bengals do get the Super Bowl, well, if they get there with the Niners, I have a big bet that I win. I don't care what happens after that. But if they get to the Super Bowl against somebody else, I have to decide: do I want to root for Breech or root against Prisco being right? Because when Burrow was drafted, Pete said he guaranteed a Super Bowl in 10 years with Joe Burrow. What if they do it the second year? Pete will literally grow peacock feathers out of his shoulders and just prance around.
He still has to get 2 more from Justin Herbert and then 1 more from Burrow in the next 9 years. So he's still up against it.
Now, having said all that, there's a fairly decent chance.
No, it's going to happen.
Either the Bills or Chiefs just obliterate.
Here's why it's going to happen. The Bengals' path has been, so they beat the Raiders in the wild card round. That was the team that started their playoff losing streak in 1991. They beat the Titans on Saturday. That was their last playoff win is against the Oilers, who are now the Titans. Now, AFC title game, if they play the Bills, do you know who they played the last time they were in the AFC title game in 1988? The Buffalo Bills.
Are you serious?
The Buffalo Bills in 1988. So that's why the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs. Mark it down. And then you face the 49ers for the 3rd time in the Super Bowl. That's the path. That's what's happening. It's happening. No, it's 3rd time. 3rd. I just, my fingers.
3 up like that. What the hell?
So, Breech.
I wear a 3. I put it up however I want, Brinson.
Breech, Pterodactyl asked in the chat, are you saying you want to face the Bills? Which team do you want to face next week?
Good question.
I think the Chiefs, the Bengals would be more likely to beat the Chiefs. I think they're going to be 3 or more point underdog to either team, probably 6 to the Bills, probably 5 to the Chiefs. It's
really?
I mean,
yeah.
Like
so 4.5 to 5 is the problem.
I would prefer the Chiefs, I think, but I feel like the Bengals kind of have a mystery element to them, and I think they're hard to prepare for. And so if you're a team that's never faced them, like the Bills, but the Bills giving up the fewest yards in the NFL, the fewest points. It's not a defense you want to go up against. Their offense is on fire. I think they have a better chance to win against the Chiefs. But you know what? They'll take on all comers because they haven't been here since 1988. Bring on everyone. We'll play them
now.
Both.
Are you going to Kansas City and or Buffalo?
You know what? I'm definitely not going because my view is if they lose, you don't want to be there. If they win, I'll be in the Super Bowl covering it with you guys. So it's win-win. However, my buddy Nate has gone to both these playoff games. They won
He
both.
has
So
to go.
he's texting his wife, and she's like, "Oh, you gotta go. You gotta go." And,
What a great wife.
but she finagled a Super Bowl trip out of it. So if they win, I go to Super Bowl. And so, yeah, they're good.
Is Nate the guy that me and Brinson met, the Jesus-looking fellow that you brought to Miami?
That guy's name is Nate, but this Nate was at my wedding. So you might have met him.
Nate that Breech
Two different Nates.
He calls everybody Nate.
All right. What a celebration. We got to take a break. We
need a break. We need a break.
I guess we'll talk about my Niners next. So the 49ers won their football game too. Feels a lot less exciting after you watch Breech.
By the way, quickly before we go on, Jamie, social team for CBS Sports, Jamie in the chat. He knows Nate Breech.
Wait, what?
Jamie also asked how he would rank the win tonight, the birth, the marriage, and the marathon running. Like, where does that come in the ranking?
The marathon running would be number 1. It's everybody's number 1. And then the game would be number 2.
Breech just stretches himself out. He doesn't realize his voice is about to just go off.
I love it. I love it.
I'm off tomorrow's podcast, guys. Sorry.
All right, go ahead. I just want to get that in real quick.
No, I mean, look, I thought both of these games were similar in the sense that I was shocked at the way this game started. The Packers-49ers game. Niners win 13-10. Last second, Robbie. They both ended on a last second field goal, like a longest field goal, and you were like 50,
right, and iffy field goal, exactly. Not a gimme, at all.
It's pouring snow in Green Bay.
But in both those field goals, the right kicker was taken. By that, yes. I mean, you don't want the kicker for the other team taking that field goal.
And
Matt Randy and Mason Crosby, you're like,
since I shouted out Evan McPherson, let's do it for Robbie Gould. Robbie Gould has the most field goals in NFL history, NFL playoff history without a miss. He has never missed in the playoffs, which is just like Justin Tucker misses. All the greats miss in the playoffs. He has never missed. He is 20 for 20. I think that Chris Boswell's 16 for 16. There's only like 3 guys ever who have tried at least 15 field goals and made them all. Ryan Suckup. There we go. We got it. Debo's got it. So there we go. There's only 2 guys ever.
And by the way, remember that the Bears decided they didn't need Robbie Gould.
Yeah.
Cast him aside.
And then double doink their way out of the playoffs. Shout out to Bleeperson. And Ryan Suckup is also on the 14-14. The Titans got rid of him. And then Debo obviously showed the graphic because Jake Elliott's on it too.
So the Packers, the Niners,
32 for 32 on point afters, according to our buddy Jamie. So Packers, 20 for 20, 32, 32. Sorry.
So never missed any kicks. Go, Brinson.
Packers get the ball to start the game. 10 plays, 69 yards. Nice. An absolute march.
The route is on, right?
Oh, I was not in a happy place.
Why would you had the, what was it?
Niners money line, Niners.
6.5.
Yeah, 6, 5.5, 5, every which way. Had the Niners huge. Niners come out and go 3 plays, -6 yards. Technically -11 if you count the penalty. Punt. And Green Bay is marching again, and Mercedes Lewis coughs it up. You're like, all right, now you take advantage. 3 plays, no yards. They went punt, punt, punt. They had -7 yards at the end of the first quarter. The 49ers did. And they went -3 yards on their 4th drive in the second quarter. But the defense stepped up. And look, credit to both of these defenses. The Packers defense came, it again, very similar to Bengals-Titans. Like, Rashawn Gary had a career game against a very good 49ers offensive line that didn't play very well. Nick Bosa had a monster game. This was
Fred Warner played out of his mind after being on a bum ankle, quote unquote.
And I know we like to bag on Jimmy G here, or you guys do. He wasn't the problem.
Wait, what?
He wasn't the problem. It was the pass catchers. It was the offensive line. He wasn't the problem in the first quarter.
Oh, no, fair enough. That's right. Ayuk dropped the ball. Travis Kelce dropped the ball. George Kittle dropped the ball. He was 0 for 4 at one point. Jimmy G.
Like 0 for 6. Yeah. I mean, he had his first completion late in the first quarter or early in the second quarter.
He might have been 3 of 9 at halftime, something like that.
But it was like the Niners had -7 yards and they were down 7-0 late in the second quarter. You're like, man, you can't really ask for, like, if you're going to start this poorly against a defense that has been bad against the run and you're only down 7-0, it's like at that point, it felt like the Packers were playing with fire. Sure enough, well, gosh, oh God, there's so many. All right, so
what are you doing?
Well, the final minute of the second half of the first half, Jimmy G is somehow makes this miraculous like dancing move, gets out of the way, is running to his right, and he throws the end zone, and you're like, what the F are you doing, bro? Like, it's just easily picked off.
Here's how I saw it. George Kittle was wide ass open. Jimmy G took 14 steps to his right and threw it 35 minutes too late.
Yeah, he waited to throw it. Yeah.
If you throw the ball immediately, and I don't mean like you have to snap the ball and throw it, but as soon as you make your little dance move that you're talking about and go to your right, he stared him down. Just throw the freaking ball, my man. Said walk-in touchdown.
No, I mean, Kittle's breaking wide open with several feet behind him. So that was a pick. And then I think it was pretty controversial on first down. The Packers
Who recovered it though? Sorry, go ahead.
No, so the Packers ran the ball, and everyone's like, "All right, Green Bay's going to half." Shanahan calls timeout. Like,
I was fine with that. They're deep in they're inside their 10-yard line.
You're begging Aaron Rodgers to torch you.
What happened next though?
He threw a deep pass to Aaron Jones.
Oh, dang it! So it didn't work out.
Yeah, no, it didn't work out.
But that wasn't the controversial part, was it?
I thought the timeout. LaFleur was going to halftime.
More or less controversial than the fumble that no one reviewed on the subsequent play.
I mean, it's insane.
That's what I was asking. Who recovered that?
The Niners did. They handed the ball to the official.
So that's a controversy. The controversy.
No, that was after the deep pass to Jones.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, so the controversy to me is happens,
right?
And then Rodgers gets hit by Nick Bosa, and the ball, like, he's clearly not going forward with his hand. The ball is up in the air. The Niners recover. There's no review at all. And then Green Bay, I think they spike because they're out of timeouts. And then they kick on the next play, I believe, right?
I don't understand how you don't review that play. And I wanted the Packers to win because I had them going to the Super Bowl.
I mean, I understand why, because they do this every week.
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough. But to me, that was the controversy in the play. Calling timeout, I get it. You're sort of playing with fire, but it's 0 degrees. No one's really moving the ball. Your defense is playing well. You need to score points because your dumb quarterback just threw an interception at the half-inch line. That part didn't bother me. The lack of review was troubling, but as you point out, I shouldn't have been surprised by it. But again, ball don't lie, because our guy Mason Crosby, who's struggled all year, and Breech Breech doesn't worry about cutting them now because their season's over. Because Breech, the general manager, wouldn't replace the kicker.
We've been talking about
I don't think it was the kicker's fault that kick got blocked. Did you not see the guy barge through? That was literally the only play I saw in the first half, Ryan, so I can actually defend Mason Crosby here. The 49ers defender just shot through the line. Evan McPherson would have been blocked there. Robbie Gould, who has never missed a field goal, would have been blocked there.
Blasphemy.
The Packers special teams, and I missed the first half of this game except for this field goal block, but the special teams was a total disaster. If you're Aaron Rodgers, I'd go to the GM and be like, all right, either the entire special teams is gone or I'm gone, because they cost that. We just had the graphic, how many teams have won a game without an offensive touchdown. And there was only 5 teams since 1979 in the playoffs. It just doesn't happen. And your special teams, you're going home because your special teams is bad all year, and it was bad in this game. So I mean,
know who the Packers are, Breech? They're the Bengals without a special teams. I mean, it's the exact same game, except the difference is Evan McPherson showed up, and Mason Crosby and the punter, or whoever you want to blame for the.
How do you give up a blocked punt for a touchdown with 4 minutes left in a game where you're up 10-3? You should have full. It doesn't make sense. It defies all logic. That's all.
There's definitely a podcast in the last, 8 weeks, and certainly in the last 10 to 12 weeks, where we're like, okay, at one point we're going to get in the playoffs, and there's going to be like Wilson was calling Mason Crosby on the carpet, and we're like, there's definitely going to be a special team situation with the Packers in the playoffs. I mean, they lost that game for him, right?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, like, very clearly.
You know, it's funny. I was doing HQ, and BMAC tried to put some of the blame, like 50% or more, on Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, well, he ain't kicking field goals. And what do you want to say, Breech? You want to defend it?
Well, I'm going to defend
Rodgers?
BMAC because hey, if Aaron Rodgers just scores maybe, I don't know, one more touchdown.
What's he supposed to do?
Do you guys remember my bold prediction was for this game?
No, I don't remember what mine was. I'm going to remember
Mine was Aaron Rodgers touchdown passes will be the margin of the Packers
victory.
victory.
That crazy one.
What was Aaron Rodgers touchdown passes?
0.
0. What was the margin of victory? 0.
He actually wins that one. Although we could make interceptions count as negative
margin
points.
of victory was 0.
They didn't win.
They didn't win.
They lost.
Was that the
I'm willing to give him that. That's pretty good.
no,
So I think you put it on
-3.
Rodgers.
No,
he didn't show up.
no. That's
All
a
right,
little
sorry, Breech.
If they score one more touchdown, if Rodgers throws one touchdown pass, like special teams is like 60% the blame, but you absolutely have to. Matt LaFleur, people are trying to crown him. He is who we thought he is. Is that
Wow, what a
Green
heel
say?
turn this is.
He's got 39 wins, and you haven't been to the Super Bowl a single time. Like the
You know what
Packers
this is,
have a lot of
Brinson? This is like
self-assessing to do.
this is
What
like
is happening? By the
this
way,
is like-
Tebow, toss it Molly P's comment in there up because we like to peacock when we're right. Correctly, we did call Packers special teams meltdown and Cowboys time management meltdown.
to be fair, and that's a great question. Thank you, Maya. That's like saying, "Hey, I think the sun's going to rise tomorrow." Anyone with me?
Well, no, but the
All right,
Cowboys
so-
fans and Packers fans all these things happen all season, and they're like, no, it's not going to happen in the playoffs, and then it happens in the playoffs, and you're like, oh well, like what you think was going to happen? Of course, you're going to lose if you've had special teams meltdowns all season.
Breech just shot his doppelganger right in the head. I mean, he just turned it on Matt LaFleur and
Thank
blew his
you,
brains out.
Angriest backs
See,
me up.
this is we you knew it, Wilson. We were like, this is an oddly specific
Yeah, he
and
thought about it.
terrible like call by Breech. They lost. There's no
He won
margin
it.
of victory.
He won it.
We're all playing checkers, and Breech is playing
2022 is over. By the way, people
Every
keep
team
asking,
game of Breech,
2022 is a simulation.
people keep asking in the comments for an update on the tattoo. I am ready for the tattoo. Maybe we'll get done in Los Angeles. The ball is now, and please put pressure on this person in Brinson's court. It's going to cost him between $300 and $500 apparently for this tattoo.
Is that
so
my
hope-
fault? What are you talking about?
You're going to
paying
pay for it.
That's
Cut
the
him a
rule.
check. Venmo him.
Has a tattoo artist been given the design?
Venmo him.
Yeah, we'll get it done. We'll do it. I'm all in.
LA. I think let's do it in LA. We're all going to be in LA together.
I'll tell you what.
And if the Bengals are there, even better.
Breech takes a bath in Skyline Chili,
No, that's not the
we'll
bad.
wave the tattoo bet, and everyone wins. I
I'm
don't
fine.
spend money. Can we agree as an audience to wave the bet if Breech like takes a selfie?
Nobody wants to see me bathe in Skyline Chill. I'll
No,
do
no,
it.
no,
I'll eat the
you'll be
chili. I'll
bathing
eat the
in
chili. It'd be
meatballs.
delicious.
Oh, so now Breech, here we are. I harangued you for months, and now it's
I
Brinson
know.
who's
Now Brinson
moonwalking.
won't pony up.
God, you guys are
Hey, you
just
know
like
what?
my wife.
If we're
I had
in
no
LA
idea.
if the Bengals and 49ers are playing, Brinson wins that 85-1 bet. He can buy you 5 tattoos.
If the Bengals and 49ers play, you're getting a full back tattoo
Oh, these people are not happy with you, Brinson.
with me.
Not happy.
I didn't know he's even. What is happening? What are you talking about? Wilson is an agent of chaos, guys. You need to understand that. He looks responsible. He looks well put together. He likes to show up on HQ with ties and blazers, sometimes with hoodies, but he's secretly a passive aggressive agent of chaos. And he is sowing seeds of discord on this tattoo bet by pinning it on Breech for months and then flipping it to me. We all know
Then just Venmo him.
See, here's the problem,
I'm
Brinson.
not supposed to Venmo. What are you talking about?
Brinson, here's the problem. Like, you think after I was I was pummeling Breech about this, he's going to join forces with you. He's done his part. Now it's on
Correct,
you.
correct. Yeah. Breech it in. Breech it in. Everyone's
And-
smiling on the other guy.
And the fact that it was supposed to be a Bengals tattoo would make it even more fitting if the Bengals in the Super Bowl and Ryden gets a tattoo in LA.
And it is going to be an Evan McPherson one.
I do think
Comment from a commenter,
Now-
Tim Proctor. Everything is Benson's fault.
so. I owe our boy Colin Bear some money for the Bengals win total, but I do think at this point that any Bengals bets that are unresolved prior to this little playoff streak should be left unresolved in the event. like no Bengals business should be settled between now and February 14th.
What's the Bengals business?
The tattoo? This bet I owe Colin. We're going to tailgate to do a live podcast. I think we should table all Bengals business in the interest of karma. Does that seem appropriate?
Bear
That's-
Robertson says pay up Brinson.
That's
So pay
fine.
up Brinson.
I just don't. I think you don't mess with anything Bengals related, or
Okay.
maybe it doesn't matter because Joe Burrow is killing everybody.
Well, here's the thing. I'm happy to let this go on as long as you want, but now that the listeners know the truth, they can now.
You're unbelievable.
They can now.
They can badger
Who's,
Brinson.
you're freaking Sean Spicer. It's incredible.
I need my little podium so I can scoot around here.
But back to the original point of, can you blame Aaron Rodgers some for this loss?
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right, so I would say this: Prisco is irate about the Packers play calling. He
Which
thinks
part?
they took the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, ran the ball too much on early downs.
And whose fault is that?
That's Matt LaFleur.
Oh, so
And
maybe
see, this is the point of this game, honestly. And look, the Packers probably should have won this game.
Yeah, no, wait. No, probably. Absolutely 100%. The special teams is like
They had less than 300 yards. They were 1 of 3 in the red zone, 5 of 12 on third down.
No, but think about the other team. Jimmy G didn't play well. The running game wasn't really going. Deebo Samuel got red hot at the end. The only reason they lost is because the field goal kicker and the special teams unit in general and the punter.
you put up 10 points, Ryan. That's on the offense. Like you can't completely blame the special teams if you only put up 10 points.
If you got Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and AJ
Well,
Dillon.
tell me what Aaron Rodgers didn't do, because he was 2029
Score points. He didn't score points.
But I mean, what specifically would you point to say, oh my God, I can't believe he did that?
But I guess this is my point about it is I think Pete is probably onto something in the sense that the play calling did not ask Aaron Rodgers to go out there and just take out the Niners. It was like, all right, let's be careful. We don't want to get in, and like going into this game, if you'd ask me what % chance it is that Aaron Rodgers comes back to Green Bay, I would have said 90 minimum
Before today. Yeah.
Coming
No, I agree with that.
today,
Okay,
I
so
don't
Rodgers, the Packers offense scored 10 points since the year 2000.
Oh boy.
Playoff teams are 2-63 when scoring 10 or less points. There's only been 2 wins out of
10 or
65.
fewer. So what's their percentage at now after this? He did not look happy. He looked very pouty in his post-game press conference.
he wore all black.
So did Jimmy G, but he looked like he was just stepping off the set of
Jimmy G was
Goodfellas.
going to a porn set.
I know, he had his gold chain on. Like he
I'll
just won
see
the
y'all
lottery.
later on Monday.
It was weird that music was playing behind him in the background. So what's your percentage of Aaron Rodgers coming back now? Devontae Adams is a free agent.
I was at 90 and I'm at like 60.
Yeah, 60 is probably pretty good.
You know what's funny? Last year, I was the guy that there's no way he comes back during the summer. He's coming back. Like he comes back, that means Devontae's coming back.
You'd
And
be
then,
wrong on Aaron Rodgers the entire time. Like
maybe I'm reverse jinxing it so he goes to the Steelers.
You would love that, Wilson.
The Steelers are interesting because my thing is if you're Rodgers, like this season has been, I think, enlightening to him because he's realized that he can do whatever he wants in Green Bay. There's fairly minimal scrutiny. He can do these Tuesday McAfee shows where he's jamming his toe up there and ripping the CDC and the government. Like he can do whatever he wants. He has full carte blanche. He repaired the relationship with Brian Gutekunst. But now, all right, so first round playoff loss in the divisional round to the 49ers. Last year, the debacle with the fourth down thing,
The
field goal against the Buccaneers at home in the conference championship. And then the year before, they got absolutely like smacked by the 49ers in the conference championship.
27-0 at halftime, 37-20 when it was all over.
Look at this. They've been the 1 seed 4 times under Aaron Rodgers. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. And by the way, we'll give away a Brinson Sucks hat in a minute.
But let me ask you this.
I mean, but look.
Give me a team other than the dynastic Patriots that crush it in the playoffs every single year. This isn't great. Don't get me wrong. But I'm trying, like, who goes there and just crushes it 2 out of 3 times they go to the playoffs?
Well, I guess.
How about just 1 out of 3 would be nice?
I guess I would say that like coming into these playoffs, there was this narrative. It was like, remember like how Rodgers sucked and the Packers were bad with Mike McCarthy, and it's like, and now he's I think 39-9 in the regular season with Matt LaFleur, but you've got these 3 L's. It's hard to win the playoffs. I agree completely. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, do you think that your ceiling is capped by virtue of being in Green Bay? And could you potentially go to, I don't know, Denver, is it?
But here's the thing. That's a great point.
Weed is legal in Denver. So
what division do you want to be in if you're Aaron Rodgers? You don't want to be in the AFC West. You probably don't want to be in the AFC North. Yes, exactly. AFC North or the NFC North.
The Colts are actually.
And I'm winning the next 5 Super Bowls with the Colts.
That's not that crazy.
But because here's the other thing. The Titans apparently don't have a quarterback.
The Titans, go the Titans.
I mean, the Colts are kind of interesting for Rodgers with that line and Taylor.
Debo's going to cut this podcast off right now if you keep talking like that.
the trade is it's like 2 first-round picks, plus the Colts agree to murder Carson Wentz down. I don't know what you do with Carson Wentz.
Trade him with the Packers.
I just think that this happens in the NFL a lot of times where a single game that is, largely fluky. We're talking about multiple. You had the Ayuk fumble that was ruled incomplete, and then you have the Mercedes Lewis fumble when the Packers were about to go up 14-0 and just like ice this thing. There's
Ayuk wasn't a fumble though, right? You didn't think that was a fumble.
It was ruled a fumble,
but they overturned it.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm just saying there's these. If he takes one more foot, if he gets one more foot down, it's a fumble.
Yeah.
There are all these little moments inside these games, and then this one game, just a 13-10 game could send Aaron Rodgers playing somewhere else next year. Whereas we were 90% sure.
48 hours ago, we would all bet that Aaron Rodgers is returning to Green Bay. And
I
this
think
one loss just throws everything into chaos.
So Breech is 60%. What are you at, Brinson?
I think I would max at 60 right now.
I think I'm like at 85.
Again, you have been really, really wrong.
Really wrong on Aaron Rodgers for sure.
So it's usually the opposite of what Wilson said. So it's 15
30 now.
It's 15%.
I know. I just don't know what else he could have done though during this game. Like he there's not a moment you can point to. He almost threw an interception late in the game. The ball was dropped.
That's the point. Is that when he goes back and looks at this away from the team.
I just went to my point about Aaron Rodgers should have done more. I get about being frustrated.
No, I'm saying he's going to be like, okay, like I love Matt LaFleur. He's a great coach, but man, I couldn't have played any better, and we still lost this game. Like, what? He's like, is it? I don't know. You start running through your head. You're like, is it me? Is it what is it that caused this? And I think
a ton of injuries along the offensive line. Again, the offensive line was banged up. Aaron Jones played well. AJ Dillon played well when he's healthy. Devontae Adams did what he usually does. He might say this. I would love for you buttholes to start drafting wide receivers in the first round. That would be nice. Here's a fun fact, or not so fun if you're a Packers fan. You got the last time, the year specifically, I suppose, and the player you get extra bonus points that the Packers drafted a wide receiver in the first round.
Like 2001, they'd never done with Rodgers, right?
You want to guess, Brinson?
It's before then, right? Isn't it? Oh no, it's is it Sharp?
He's tight end. Was Sterling a tight end?
Sterling is a wide receiver.
Sterling.
Oh, it's 2002, Javon Walker.
Oh, that's right. He had
2002?
3 years before Aaron got there.
And I guess 2001, so that's close.
That's right. You did do that. Correct, Breech. You did say words that weren't the right words, but go ahead.
What? I don't get bonus points? Brinson was a decade off. He was a decade off.
This isn't the horseshoes or hand grenades.
I'm 90 minutes removed from celebratory shots, and I was a year off. You're not going to give me any credit? This is insane. I don't want to play this game anymore.
Oh, here's a quote from Aaron Rodgers a couple of minutes ago. Wilson, did you already read this? You didn't read this, right?
I put it the one I put in Slack. I read it.
You read it on the pod.
Oh no, I didn't. Go ahead.
I don't want to be part of a rebuild if I'm going to keep playing. So a lot of decisions in the next couple months.
Yeah, that's just him talking. I feel like. You
think a big part of that is that the Packers are about $45 million over the salary cap.
Oh, they are
going into 2022. So they have, yes,
Devontae's free agent.
Million?
Yes,
that seems impossible.
That does seem impossible
because the Steelers are 45 under, and they're never under.
Like
$45.
$45 million over the salary cap is pretty hard to do.
And
Brinson, you want to hear from? We want to hear from Breech's doppelganger.
Yeah, let's hear what Matt LaFleur had to say about this loss.
I'm wondering what, if any, effect you think the ending of this season has on your chances of having Aaron Rodgers back next year.
I don't know, Dan. Certainly, we want him back here. I think we'd be crazy not to want him back here. He's going to be the 2-time MVP. I mean, this guy does so much for a football team. not only what you guys see on Sundays or every game day, but what he does in that locker room, how he leads. You know, I know what he puts into this thing, and certainly I'm extremely disappointed in that we couldn't get over the hump for not only him but for everybody in that locker room.
MattyBbad@gmail.com if you're wondering what Matt LaFleur's email is.
So
that guy looks like someone who is aware of what's transpiring this offseason.
that's someone who got caught throwing eggs in the parking lot, and you're sitting outside the principal's office getting ready to go in there and try to explain yourself. So listen to this.
I'm very sorry about what transpired.
Do not call my parents. So here's the thing: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 players on this Packers roster. I'm looking at their the salary cap situation. Account for how much of the Packers salary cap space? You want me to tell you the 5 players? You just want to guess first.
Rodgers, can't be Adams because he's a free agent.
No Adam. So I'll tell you the players, and you can guess how much percentage do they account for the salary cap. Aaron Rodgers, Zadarius Smith, Bakhtiari, Preston Smith, Kenny Clark. If you had to guess how much of the 100% salary cap space they account for.
Well, Bakhtiari's over 10 million. I don't know what it is. Rodgers, I know, is like 25.
50?
Base salary next year. So that's those 2 guys are at least 35 million for 2 players. And that it's probably higher because I don't know the exact numbers.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
All right.
So then if you throw in the 3 other guys, I'll say 50.
Just tell us.
66%, nearly 2/3 of the salary cap taken up by those guys.
Wait, what?
Isn't Gutekunst the cap guy? What do you like? Or was he the scout guy? I can't remember.
I don't know, but cap percentage according to Spot Track, excuse me, those guys account for, unless I did the math wrong, which is also 35, 45, 55, 65. No, got it right, 66. So, I mean, look, if they win, no one cares, but they didn't win. So this is a conversation you have to have.
All right, before we wrap this up, and we will wrap this up in a second, we have to give away the hat so people don't see it.
Ooh.
Rome 42. Oh, I forgot to ask for the drum roll. Rome 42, you won a Brinson Sucks hat.
Rome 42, also known as There's a Path.
Oh,
nice.
There we go. There's a path.
Perfect.
There we
Finally.
go. Hell yeah.
Andy Dalton getting his due.
First
There's
time
a
Andy Dalton's
path.
done anything in the playoffs.
What a big jam!
Is speaking of Andy Dalton, is Matt LaFleur the Andy Dalton of coaches? Just choking in the big spot. every year?
I say every year, do we know if he's a good coach? You guys make fun of me.
No,
He-
I don't. Look,
he wins 13
you say
games.
it out loud, you get ripped because he's won the most games of
Right.
any coach in his first 3 seasons. But if you don't perform in the playoffs, then it doesn't mean anything. You have no Super Bowls to show for this.
I mean, when you factor that in with Mike McCarthy winning 1 Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers,
Oh boy.
you sort of have to start to wonder, because like Rodgers, at no point I don't believe in this run of these tough playoff losses. And look, like the playoffs are random and they're really tough and bad stuff happens, but I don't think there's a game where we're like, oh, Rodgers played like ass. It's always like, oh, that's a tough break at the end, or oh man, that's some terrible coaching, or oh, the defense couldn't do its part. And again, that's why Aaron Rodgers, I mean, is definitely gonna think about this offseason. I mean, this game, if the
At the end of the
Packers win
day,
this game,
He can't go anywhere. I mean, they can just not trade him.
well, then that gets real weird.
It's a
They-
little
he-
different
they
this year
agreed-
because his dead cap's not huge. Even because if they had traded him last year, it was a
But
huge still cap hit.
they gave him a presumably
yeah.
a gentleman's agreement to trade him.
I forgot about that part.
I said at the time, I was like, that's idiotic to take that gentleman's agreement because
and not get it in writing.
yeah, get it in writing. Like if I ask for a trade, you have to trade me or else, you know, my contract voids. They didn't do that, or he didn't do that. And now again, it's insane how much this one game changes everything. Because if they win this game, then lose to Tampa Bay or the Rams in the conference championship game in like a hard fought battle against Tom Brady, or
Yeah, but if they
Draw him
say,
in
well, the huge salary cap issue. If they say we're going to draft some wide receivers with the first round, no matter what, and we're going to fix the special teams, where are you going to find a better? I mean, again, you're playing in the NFC North.
I agree. It's the best spot, but like if you're Aaron Rodgers, you have to be thinking, why don't I have 3 Super Bowls? And you have one, and it was early on in your career, and you've had way better opportunities.
And after this loss, are you a little more bitter that your coach kicked a field goal down 8 on 4th down last year? Like,
he was pretty bitter last
those
year.
Things, but those things start to compound. If you were already upset about it, now you're even more upset about it because it's like, I'm running out of time and all these dumb decisions.
It's like when your wife, she's like, I can't believe you didn't take the trash out. And you're like, I'm sorry. And she goes, and then in 2010, you're like, wait, what? Like, what? Why are you still thinking about that?
2010, we got rats in the basement because you threw the trash down there. It was supposed to go in the trash can, and then the rats ate our child, and now we don't have a child. Right? That's where you're going with that?
I got a little
Oh,
dark.
my goodness.
But,
I was reading comments, and I hear Breech talking about murdering babies.
No, I mean, it's like
Nobody said a baby, Ryan. It was a child.
all of a sudden these grudges start popping up, and Rodgers, if you're Rodgers, you're away from the team after the season, and you're like, man, like we've had 3 chances to win a Super Bowl in the last 3 years. Like, I finally got rid of this clown McCarthy, and I've had 3 really good looks to win a Super Bowl with just like
and you have to think Aaron Rodgers reveled in the way that McCarthy and the Cowboys lost. You know, saying like, I had to deal with that.
Why we lost.
Right, exactly. And so he's thinking, I don't have to deal with that anymore. We're going to win it all this year and then have the same the boneheaded special teams plays because you don't fix your problems and you think they're not going to manifest themselves in the playoffs, and they do.
Is bad play calling, special teams miscues, and you lost to, if you're Aaron Rodgers, you are spending the next week building up what's it, like how you build a grudge. What's the freaking word with the R?
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of it.
What are you trying to think of?
I keep thinking the wrong word in my head. You're building up a grudge against Matt LaFleur is what I'm saying.
Resentment.
Thank you, Breech. Yes, very obvious word. It's not 5 letters. It's not Wordle.
Breech is drunk, can't talk, has half a brain.
And
he knew the
I'm
word.
picking up words.
Rain Man.
Like, what is? I mean, don't you think Aaron Rodgers?
Well, here's what I hope happens. I hope he doesn't answer any calls from the Packers, and I hope Mike Tomlin drives to his house and just kidnaps him.
Mike Tomlin shows up. He's like, "Hey, Aaron, I'm just going to walk you through these last few minutes of this game."
But here's the thing, I love dreaming about Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh, but if he was frustrated in Green Bay, he is going to pull his hair out if he goes to Pittsburgh. Just be careful what you wish for.
I think they would just give him the all right, Aaron, you're basically the de facto offensive coordinator. We're going to hire an offensive coordinator, but you just do whatever you want.
So
I would be totally fine with
that. Here's what I think would push it over the top. Tom Brady wins a 2nd Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. No, Tom Brady leaves New England and immediately wins 2 Super Bowls with, full control, etc. I think that would drive.
I thought you meant it would make Aaron want to stay in Green Bay. It would make him
makes Aaron want to bounce.
Yes.
Oh.
If Brady wins the 2nd one, Rodgers is gone.
Or if the Rams win with Stafford switching teams, he'd be happy with that.
So, Breech, I'm guessing you would not want Aaron Rodgers to go to Pittsburgh. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I just told you I think the Bengals will dominate 5 to 7 years. The next 3 years would be totally up in the air with the Steelers being the easy pick to win the division if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback.
I don't know what the max is on first-round picks, but if you give up 4 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers to have him for 3 years, you do it in a heartbeat.
And the Steelers would be the favorite all 3 years if Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback. Yeah. So, no, I do not want him anywhere near the AFC North.
Come on, baby Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus, bring it home. All right. That's it for the Pick Six podcast this evening.
We got 2 3-point games, 2 games won by kickers, Evan McPherson, Robbie Gold. This is the greatest day in football.
Congratulations to Breech.
Breech. Congrats again, buddy.
We're pulling for you. Don't be a jerk about it.
I already got the Super Bowl helmet set up behind me.
Brinson, this is crazy. I'm going to extend this podcast by 60 more seconds.
What?
If you guys are picking
60, I was like, oh my God, if you say 60.
If you guys are picking the Bengals or the 49ers to advance to the Super Bowl, not knowing their opponent, who would you be more likely to choose?
49ers, not close.
Wait,
what's the question?
You're saying who you have to play next week, right?
Right. I think it's easy.
Yeah.
Wait,
49ers, it's not close.
So what's the question?
Would you rather play the Bucks or the Rams or Bucks/Rams or Bills/Chiefs.
It's basically taking a
Oh,
look at these odds right here, and the 49ers plus 145 to advance to the Super Bowl, Bengals plus 220.
Right. Yeah, that sounds right.
And I think
Well, and the 49ers, they might play a Rams team they've beaten 6 straight times. Like, they would love to play the Rams.
look,
So
this is why I bet on the Niners Bengals Super Bowl, because there's a path.
there's a
I mean,
path.
the Bengals got the Raiders in the first round and then got to go to Tennessee against a good Titans team, but not like a, Mahomes Bills team.
7-1 is still crazy odds for being one of the final 4 teams. Like,
You know what, Breech, to continue this crazy talk from Wilson here on HQ, I was asked this very question about, did I like the Bengals or the 49ers better? I said the Bengals, because they have an offense. Like, here's the thing. If the Bengals get behind by 14 and San Francisco gets behind by 14, no one's taking Jimmy G.
right.
You're taking, what's his face, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase all day, every day.
Definitely ignores the Week 18 game where Jimmy G was down 17-0 at halftime and brought a team back to win against the exact team that you're potentially talking about in playing.
Well, and also against his doppelganger, Matthew Stafford. I love that's the dunk you're going
Tiny
for.
baby dunk. Tiny baby dunk.
Debo Samuel brought them back, Brinson.
Thank
Let's
you.
be accurate.
No, I mean,
There it is.
I get that point. I just think that you're Kansas City and Buffalo look like truck sticks right now, and I don't want to play.
But don't forget, Steve Spagnuolo refused to cover Jamar Chase, and they lost that football game.
I'm not betting against Joe Burrow. I'm just
And
telling
the
you.
Chiefs looked like truck sticks the end of the season. They were on a 8-game winning streak when they lost to the Bengals. So
Do
it's
not be
like,
fooled by the Steelers beat down by the Chiefs. That was a scrimmage. Although it was also a bye week, so that is also concerning for the Bills.
the Chiefs have won 10 of 11, and their 1 loss is to the Bengals. So it's like, it's possible.
I will say that the Bengals plus 220 to win the conference on Caesars.
No, don't take it.
Well, no, but
If they play the Bills, they'll probably be more than plus 220.
I don't think so.
Eh.
Wait, what's the line? 5, 6?
I think it's 6. In Buffalo,
I don't think the Niners were plus 220, and they were plus 6 coming to this game.
So, Breech, not to get too far ahead of ourselves before we get out of here, and just
Niners were plus 210, so there's value there.
let's say we're in the universe where the Bengals make it to the Super Bowl, and you obviously won't be working the Super Bowl. How much are you willing to pay for a ticket? Can I ask that question?
you know, it's funny that you are asking that question, because we had that conversation post game with our celebratory shots about how much everyone was willing to pay.
All right, let's guess. Here's the over under. Brinson, would Breech pay $2,000 for one ticket?
Well, you have to consider that John's dad is paying for the ticket.
No, not at all. He's not
Oh,
paying
really?
for it. So the only possible positive thing that he would bring is that in terms of tickets, is that maybe we could get it at face value instead of paying secondary market prices.
What's face value? Is like 500 or something?
Yeah, it's still expensive.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, if
I buy my own tickets,
if I
Brinson,
was
I'm
a
an
Bengals
adult with
fan-
an adult job where I talk to you on a podcast.
if I was a Bengals fan,
$2,000 is what I would spend.
Oh, that's what I guessed. I hit it.
I think it's 3,500 is the number.
I would maybe be willing to go up
Really
under
walked him into
certain
that one.
circumstances.
If
3,500
the
is
Bengals are the friggin'
so
Super
much
Bowl
money.
with a chance to win a Super Bowl, and you're already in LA for work, and you just have to move a flight around, and they've never won a Super Bowl, and you don't actually have to work the game because, we'd figure out some way to cover it for
We
the
have
podcast.
a bunch of writers covering the game.
Yeah, and we'd just be like, Breech didn't come on the podcast because he's
No, I would be on the podcast. I would not
either
miss the
drunk or
podcast.
sad.
I will bring my laptop and just sit in the stadium like this.
I think the over-under is 3,500 and a half.
Oh my God. But here's the problem, and I'm pretty risk averse.
You're a Steelers fan. You got tons of titles.
No, not that. If I were in Breech's situation, I would be so worried about them losing that I'd be like, oh my God, I just wasted 35. I could
Here's
fix
what I
the-
would do,
fix the
Wilson.
roof.
I would bet 300 on them in the AFC Championship.
Oh, there you
And
go.
if it's at plus 200, I'll
There
win
you go.
$600, and then that bites into the ticket price. And
Why
then if
don't
they
you bet,
lose,
why don't
I'm
you
out
bet the
300.
3,500 in the AFC Championship game?
Well,
And
'cause I
that
don't
way,
wanna then I might lose 3,500 and not have a Super Bowl to go to. I don't
Okay.
want that.
That makes sense.
That would be sad.
wow, 35. Did anyone say more than $2,000, which sounds like what your number was. Any of your family members willing to pay more than that?
I mean, my sister and brother-in-law are in a pretty good spot in life. They would probably pay
Good.
a good chunk to go.
Nice.
But there would be, I would want everyone out there in LA. I want Bengals fans out there in LA. All the Bengals fans in the chat. I want you out in LA if you don't go to the game. And
let's say, would you be willing to? Let's say you didn't want to spend $36.50 for the ticket. Would you go to a Bengals bar in LA because you're going to be out there, or would that not be worth it?
I don't know. We got a lot to figure out. We're all going to be out there. We'll talk about it. And they got to beat the Bills or the Chiefs to get there. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
If it's
one
Niners,
week at a time,
Bengals,
one game at a time.
If it's Niners Bengals,
My God, don't do that.
I will contribute some
You got your 85 to 1 ticket.
portion of your
You got to pay for the tattoo. What do you?
Did you hear this? He's going to contribute to the ticket cost.
I
He
said
just said
some
it.
portion. Could be $1.
Oh, well, then you just you look like a cheapskate if you only give me $1.
I don't give a crap. All right.
Oh yeah, Clarence Yee says in the chat maybe you can get Skyline Chili to sponsor you.
Ooh, and I'll take the bath on the podcast. No. I'll wear a bathing suit. I won't get, I won't go naked butt.
Congrats again, Breech. Unbelievable win for you. Excited for you.
Glad you got to see it
for the whole Breech family, including
he saw the first playoff win in human history. He was there in person.
The first road playoff win. Playoff win.
Felt
and
like the first playoff win.
First divisional round playoff win since January 1989.
Who dat? Who dat gonna beat them Bengals?
Nobody.
All right. That's it for the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Smash that like button if you're in the YouTube. Hit the
Someone said banana hammock in the chili. Let that be your lasting image, podcast listener.
For Wilson, for Breech, I'm Brinson. Who dat? See you guys.